Well, that didn't go as planned. Welcome to the Burger Smokehouse PowerMizzou.com dance class on the heels of an 80-70 loss at Georgia. Maybe by now we should have expected it, honestly. Missouri had a 13-point lead with 14 and a half minutes to play and lost this game by double figures. Just a complete and total turnaround in the middle of a half. Missouri started the second half. The beginning of the second half has been a problem for Missouri at times this year. It wasn't a problem tonight. They scored the first 6 points to take I think they had a 9-point lead, 10-point lead. It was 43-33. They had a 10-point lead. Like I said, extended that to 13. It was 48-35 with 14 and a half to go. From that point on, it was 45-22 Georgia. This is not a good Georgia team. They doubled Missouri up in the final 14:30 of the game. Look, we talked on the pregame show. For those of you who were here for that, we talked about how Missouri had to win this game for many reasons, right? But I will now listen to the people that think the wheels are off, or are at least you've lost a couple lug nuts somewhere on the highway. I think as of today, this team makes the tournament. Cuonzo Martin expressed confidence that his guys will figure it out. I'm not really here to listen to the idea that just because Jeremiah Tillman wasn't there, there's an excuse for this. No, you should have won this game. This is a game NCAA tournament teams win. This is a game good teams win. This is a game even bad teams win when they're up 13 points in the second half. Look, I appreciate everybody that's here with comments and questions and all that, and we certainly are going to get to those, and we're going to take your calls. Two things we always do before that. First, we thank Burger Smokehouse. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner their logo. They make this show possible every single game. It's been a little bit more depressing than you guys might have wanted. You might, just make yourself up some pulled pork and have a cold beer and drown your sorrows while you watch the show. But I would recommend if you do that, you get it from Burger Smokehouse. You can do that at smokehouse.com. You can do it at various grocery stores across the state, Price Chopper, Hy-Vee, Schnucks, Gerbs, all kinds of places that you can get it. Smokehouse.com. They're family-owned and operated out of California, Missouri. Burger Smokehouse, the official smokehouse of Mizzou Athletics and also of the PowerMizzou.com dance class all season long. The other thing we always do before we get to the comments and the questions and all that is we hear from the head coach. Cuonzo Martin just did his press conference in what appeared to be like a thrown together homemade gym somewhere in Stegman Coliseum. So we're going to play that for you. And I want to warn you guys, there are a couple of technical issues, not on my end, but just a couple technical issues early on in the press conference. I think the second and fourth questions have some problems. So you're going to have to kind of stick with it for about 15, 20 seconds in there, but then they disappear and everything will go smoothly. So here's Cuonzo from Athens, Georgia after an 80-70 loss.
Hey, Coach Martin, it looked like live ball turnovers were really an issue there in the second half. Just what changed after taking care of the ball so well in the first half?
Man, great question. Thought we did a great job moving it, getting really what we were looking for in the first half, even into the second half to maybe around the, 15-minute mark or somewhere around there. I thought we had a couple key missed layups around the rim, and then those live ball turnovers led to maybe, I think they had like 4 threes at one point. That's 12-point turnaround, and just kind of back and forth there. Yes, man, again, you put yourself in a position to win it on the road. You got to find a way to win it.
Mitch?
We've heard.
Mitch, you're cutting out really bad.
And some of these losses that intensity and lacking.
Mitch, you're cutting out really bad. We'll move on to Ben Arnett. Sorry.
Coach, when you look at some of these midweek games where the momentum has flipped? Is there any common thread that you're seeing from some of these games?
Outside of, man, you gotta stay strong. You gotta finish the game, stay strong. I thought we had some stuff around the rim, just didn't capitalize. And a couple key live ball turnovers led to probably 3-point shots. They got their heads up, made some threes. And I think that was a sequence where they had made 4 threes. But it just felt like we could get what we wanted to get offensively, man. They made some plays, got their heads up in the chain. But I don't think there's one game after another game, whether it's midweek or weekend. I just thought we had great energy, great game plan, everything we were trying to do. It just we couldn't maintain for whatever reason, and just really execute what we try to do offensively.
They matter.
Konzo, Kobe Brown really carried you a lot offensively early. Just what did you think of his game tonight?
Thought he was aggressive. Thought he was in attack mode, and he started cramping up a little bit. But it wasn't bad. But I thought he was a threat in and around the rim, even facing up, making plays. But we felt like we had an advantage with him. And I think the key with him was just being aggressive mentally, the mindset to look to score. And maybe because of Tillman out, he probably felt like I need to do that. But it wasn't as if we put more pressure to say we need you to score. I just thought we felt like there was an opportunity for him, and he got off to a great start early.
Blair? You're on mute, Blair. Still on mute. Eric?
Konzo, it seems like at different times you want different guys kind of being the primary ball handler. At times it was X tonight, at times it was Bugs. Just what goes in that decision making based on what's happening in the game?
If Bugs and X in there, again, if they get a rebound, then either one of them brings it up. But if Bugs and X are in the game together, unless we run a specific play to get somebody the ball, then Bugs is probably the point guard. So you want X off the ball so he can score, unless we run a play specifically for him.
Bill Pollock?
Yeah, Konzo, when you were up by 13, your team turned the ball over 9 times and then 2 for 9 from 3-point range. I was just looking real quick. I may be off a little bit, but I think I'm accurate there. But is that what you want? You talked about having the offense, but it looked like there were some rushed shots, not taking care of the basketball. Was the offense really there what you wanted?
Well, we certainly don't want the turnovers. That's first and foremost. But I thought a couple guys took some quick ones. And again, that's one of those things that we talk about. You have to understand how you got the lead and maintain that. I mean, just because there's a lead and this shot seems to be easy, it looks good, it's not the best shot if that's not who you are all the time. And I think that's the biggest key. Just finish doing what we do to get us to that point, and let's finish the game that way. But of course, you don't want the turnovers, no.
Andrew?
Coach, have you talked to Jeremiah recently? Do you know how he's doing, and do you have any idea when you can expect him back?
Have I talked to him? Yes, I talked to him. He's doing. I guess he's doing as well as he can do right now. I mean, I'm feeling this when you lose a loved one. But we expect him back soon. Yes.
Gabe?
Konzo, the last couple road games that have gone this way, you've kind of said intensity dropped off in the second half. Did you think that happened tonight, or was tonight a little bit different?
No, I didn't think the effort fell off. I thought it did at Ole Miss, but I didn't think the effort fell off. I just thought a quick shot here, a live ball turnover, missed layup for us around the rim, a couple of those, and it's like the momentum shifts. They make a play here, and all of a sudden they hit 2, 3 threes in a row, I think. And that changed the game. But I didn't think the intensity, not at all. But I thought what the game plan, and we felt like the way they defend ball screens, we would have a lot of action around the rim when our 5 men or the bigs are diving. We just got to capitalize because they were up on X and Drew, which that's fine. I thought we did a great job in the first half taking advantage of that. Second half, we just didn't, get them around the rim like we needed to put them in.
What's that?
Hey, Coach. So you guys were 6 for 26 on threes tonight. When you're shooting like that, do you really want 26 attempts, or do you want to kind of make a more concerted effort to get to the hole?
I thought it was a key. I thought we, as a staff, we felt like we were shooting them early and quick in the first half. When the game first started, we had a lot of 3-point attempts. And there was some wide open shots. You can't pass up open shots, but I thought it was some of them quick. So we just told the guys to settle down a little bit. Let's get to the rim. Then we'll get that same shot. In the second half, maybe a couple rushed here and there. Maybe there's a drive, should have drove the ball. Yeah, but again, we don't have a number to say this many threes. You have to know the shots, feet down, shot ready, shot, stuff that we practice. You have to be ready to shoot the ball. And you just can't settle like if it's easy. You got to drive the ball if you're a driver and make plays when you need to make plays. But I thought the first half, we had some good looks, but we just felt like we need to probably drive the ball a little bit more early.
Back to Blair.
Coach, you've got a veteran team. All teams go through what you're going through right now. Are you confident that, with the veteran leadership you have on this team, they can fight their way out of this?
Oh, without question, because as long as you got the effort, and we understand how we need to score. We get opportunity to score the ball. It's taking advantage of what we do. Just having that grit in situation when teams make a run. I think at Ole Miss we didn't have the grit. I think in this game, a quick shot here and there, a couple easy misses around the rim, kind of take the momentum out of you. Then they get their heads up, live ball turnovers, and they made plays there. But I thought we had what we needed to win the game.
Back to Dave Manning.
Hey, Konza, you've kind of mentioned before, there's not many guys, really Jeremiah's the only one that's been in late season games where you're kind of chasing something. Is that, it's not an excuse, but these guys aren't adjusted. They're not really used to games like this with stuff on the line. How hard is it to learn how to close games out like that?
I think it's one, you have to go through it. You have to have guys and then what happens, I don't care how old you are. I mean, you got singers all around the country, but if they hadn't been in situations and they're not that level of guy to be able to say, okay, this is what it takes. Let me put you on my back. And not just say put you on my back to I'll go score the ball, but just understanding this is what we have to do every time down. It's kind of like, okay, you do your part, I'll do my part, because they're good guys, but it's like somebody has to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and say, okay, here we go. We got to get stopped here. Let's execute it. And it can't always come from the sideline, and I think that is the biggest key in going through those situations, understanding what it takes to win, having the grit to win, having the grit to get the stops, because we have all that. But it can't be waiting on somebody else to do it for you. Somebody has to take the torch.
That's time for a few more. Jack.
Sorry, Gonzo. This is, I think, the fifth time you guys let a double-digit lead turn into either a really close win or a loss like this for Mississippi State. Is it fair to say that at this point it's a pattern for you guys, and what keeps happening to the point where you struggle to put teams away?
Well, I guess it is fair to say it's happened 5 times, but I think different things happen in different games. It's just a matter of down the stretch, executing what we're doing. If it's getting the ball inside, finishing at the rim, getting key stops, all those things that matters. And it's just a matter of doing it. And I think it's one individual pride when you're talking getting stops, and on offense, understanding what it takes for us to win and be successful. You execute and taking care of the ball, and then simply making open shots when you have those opportunities to make them.
Bring it back to Mitch.
Konzo, is there anything more you want to see from X, I guess, consistently in a game like this?
Well, I think, just strong drives, the stuff we talk about all the time, strong defense, execute what we're trying to do as a point guard. One of the guys, experienced guys in our program. We're just doing it at that level, yes. I mean, but it's nothing different than I talk about all the time.
Last question for Coach. We can get the players in. Rob.
Hey, Coach, obviously y'all are a different team without Tillman. Do you think that you guys are still kind of searching for your identity here as you finish up conference play?
No, I don't think you search for an identity. We know who we are. We have to defend, rebound, and play all. That's when we are at our best. And we have different guys that can score the ball. So it's not just one guy scoring the ball. We have a variety of guys that can score the ball and make plays. And our successes as a whole, we're as good when we're all together because everybody understands their role, everybody play together. But searching for an identity, no. This is February. We're headed into March.
Thanks.
All right, so Konzo Martin, there you have it from Athens, Georgia. Again, an 80-70 loss that Missouri led by 13 and then just, fell apart. There's no other way to put it. You know what? I thought what stuck out to me there in that postgame, Konzo said something like this a couple times lately. He said, they're seniors, but I don't know if we're a veteran team because we haven't been in games that matter. And you hear coaches all the time say, hey, you got to learn to win, right? Well, that's all well and good. But the problem is it's almost March, and they are all seniors. And if this team doesn't learn to win, then I guess the thought is the underclassmen are going to know how to win in future years. But look, that's concerning. Missouri's big thing was experience and veteran leadership and all that. And if that doesn't matter, if that doesn't count, then I don't know what this team has, because they can't just line up and out-talent people. I mean, that's all there is to that. Look, I just put the phone number up there. The Skype line is open. That is always our first priority on this show. We'll take your calls at 573-234-4935. If you've got an idea what's going on, if you've got some questions about what's going on, if you just want to call and bitch, if you want to call and just kind of talk to me about something that makes you feel better than Missouri basketball makes you feel, whatever, man, that's what we're here for. Feel free, dial up the number 573-234-4935. We will hang out and take your calls and your questions and your comments about this game. All right, this one to me, I mean, this is the low point of the year. I don't think there's any question. Ole Miss, yeah, it sucked, but Ole Miss is an NCAA tournament caliber team. Mississippi State, obviously not great, but, you know, you were playing really well. You stubbed your toe. This, I mean, there was no reason. Missouri had to know everything that was on the line in this game. Top 4 seed in the league, you know, playing kind of for, not for your NCAA tournament life, because they can still make it. I'm sure we're going to talk about that plenty as we go on. They can still make it. As of today, probably should still make it. But Missouri had a lot on the line in this game, not the least of which is just kind of pride and momentum. And Georgia's not a good team, guys. I mean, they're not. I don't know what to tell you. And they sure looked like one tonight. And we're going to go to the phone lines now. We're going to start in the 832 area code. Who's on the phone?
Hey, this is Patrick.
What's up, Patrick? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I tell you what, doing a little
Not
bit
great.
of emotional eating tonight, I tell you.
Yeah.
I was just talking to buddies. We're just getting more and more, just frustrated because you have such high hopes as the season was progressing that this is almost like the inverse of Kentucky, how they normally struggle in the beginning, and then the younger talent gets the experience and they excel in the back half of the season and then into the tournament. It just seems now that it's the younger, more talented teams at the SEC are now being able to outplay the older, less talented team in Missouri. And I don't know if it's just that simple to say that, but you just had that feeling that it looked like every time the past several losses, you're just out there and you're like, Missouri just doesn't have the horses, doesn't have the talent of these other teams who are average to below average in the SEC. You just look at it; they're just physically, just athletically, they just don't look the part. But
there might be something to that.
From somebody in Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, there might be something to that. I mean, if you watch that game tonight, Missouri doesn't have anybody that can do what Tamani Kamara can do on a basketball court. They just don't. Not sure they have anybody that's as good as KD Johnson, the freshman. I mean, that kid looked like he could play running back, honestly, in the SEC. That kid is
absolutely.
He is stacked for a 6'1" dude. But this is, and I said it kind of privately to some people in the first half of the season when they were going to 13-3 or whatever they were. And look, you don't want to say it publicly because there's no point in saying, hey, I don't think they're that good. But I said to people, I don't know what this team does well except win. Like, I look at them, and they shouldn't be winning this many games, right? And now it's kind of catching up to them. And I don't think it's as simple as saying it's the law of averages, because they did win those games, and that counts and all that. But I think they probably aren't as bad as they've looked the last 10 days, but they aren't as good as they looked for the first 2 months of the season either. And what you say might have some validity. I mean, these other teams just are getting their feet wet. They didn't have an off season and all that, and that kind of helped Missouri, right? They were so experienced, they'd all played together, and it didn't matter that they didn't have the summer to play together. Well, now everybody's had 3 months.
You're exactly right.
So,
Gabe, I've always appreciated it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Patrick. I appreciate it, man. And this is why I like the show, because, like, I hadn't thought of that way to look at it. That's a pretty good point by Patrick, right? These other teams, if you watch Ole Miss play, you think they probably have more talent than Missouri. If you watch Georgia play, you think they probably have more talent than Missouri. If you watch Mississippi State play, you think they probably do. Auburn, maybe. Just I'm talking raw athleticism and talent. But Missouri brought back a roster that had all been together for 2.5 years, basically. And they'd all, Kobe Brown less than that, obviously, but the rest of them pretty much 2.5 years. And they all knew what each other was going to do, and they'd played together before, and you kind of get this sense of, hey, I know where this guy's going to go, and in this situation, I know what this guy can do and all that. And so that matters in a year where these other teams couldn't have freshmen show up on campus in June and get a whole summer in, and they couldn't take trips to Canada and Italy and play exhibition games against pro teams and stuff. That matters when coaches have 2.5, 3 weeks of practice before they're throwing these guys out there for their first game. But after Valentine's Day, these teams have all been playing for 3 months now, and they've been together every day, and that experience advantage is mitigated a little bit over what it was at the beginning of the year. And so, yeah, I think that's a great point. And maybe a reason that things are leveling out a little bit, right? I also think, I watched that game and I don't know, man, when your best player, and I don't know if Xavier Pinson's the best player, but he's one of them. He's in the discussion. When you just don't know when he's going to show up and you don't know when he's going to drive versus when he's going to be content to stand on the three-point line and fire jump shots, that's got to be hard because, you got to start that guy, right? You've got to. And you would think 6 days ago, Konzo basically took him to task in the press. He was – those comments after Ole Miss, you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out those were directed to Tillman and Pinson. And so you would think that would get it going. But then I watched that first half tonight, and it was just the same passive, not getting the offense going, taking some jump shots. This team can't win when it doesn't have Tillman and when Pinson doesn't play well. It just can't win against almost anybody, to be quite honest with you. We talk about plus minus a lot, and I always say it's not a perfect stat, but basically it is when you're on the floor, what is the relative score? In 23 minutes, Xavier Pinson was minus 19 today. That is difficult to do. It wasn't even the worst on the team. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we'll go first to the phone lines. 229 area code. Who's on the phone?
Hey, I'm Aaron from Georgia, and I've got two positive things to say.
Okay.
One, I don't have to go to work worried that I'm going to get trashed being the only Mizzou fan living, at my job because they probably don't even know Georgia won because they don't care about basketball.
Right. They're waiting for spring football. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the second thing was I could have been at the game and I stayed home. So those are my two positive things. And, I'm a big Konzo apologist, but I really just had nothing today.
Yeah.
And, the analogy I have is he's like Barry Odom. I love Odom as a person. And I think both of them are good coaches. I think they have, I think they're fun, teach fundamentally sound football and basketball, but they just can't recruit the athletes to win at the next level.
And that's this wasn't about coaching tonight, right? The same coach they had got him a 13-point lead as blew the 13-point lead. He didn't fundamentally change anything with 14 minutes left. He didn't tell him to start turning the ball over and tell Georgia to start making shots. But what you're seeing is a team that has no margin for error because the roster just doesn't have that much talent on it. And in the last 2 years, they've basically signed Kobe Brown. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I was trying to get some encouraging words from you, and saying, hey, the sun, the sun's going to come up in the morning. But
I think it is. And here's some encouraging words for you, Aaron. Where you live, the temperature might even hit double digits. That should make you feel good.
We're freezing. We're freezing down here, by the way, because it's 45.
Right,
that's
45.
really cold down here. Yeah, it's really cold where I'm at right
it,
now.
this morning at 10:30, it got over 0 for the first time in 3.5 days here. So,
don't miss those days. All
yeah.
right.
No, but
All right. So,
Aaron,
yeah,
I'd love to lift your spirits, man. But that was a bad loss. I don't see any way to spin it. So,
yeah, all right.
I can't do
all right,
it,
well,
man.
take care.
All right, thanks
All
for the
right.
call, Aaron, down in Georgia. Let's jump now to the 816 area code. Who am I talking to? You still there with me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome. So kind of two things from me. And you kind of alluded to both of them, Pinson and the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had said you didn't think coaching was an issue tonight, and obviously he's kind of been the one to get them off to fast starts, but then they blow these big leads. One thing that I get frustrated at, I think there was a big possession tonight where they went down to like Mitchell Smith on the block. Like we needed to get a bucket.
I
We were
remember
down
that,
like
yeah.
4 or 6 points. They went down to Mitchell Smith on the block. It feels like whenever we need that bucket, and this has happened a lot when we blow leads, there's not like a play. He doesn't have plays that we can go to get a guy a shot, to get Pinson or to get Smith, either of the Smith, Drew or Mark, a shot. And it's really frustrating. And then the other thing on Pinson, and I think part of this might have to do with Konzo. I don't know. It's hard to tell because Pinson doesn't get visibly frustrated.
Right.
But he seems to get a lot of staggered minutes in the games that we lose. I don't think he's played 30 minutes in one of our losses, and that was against Arkansas, which, I mean, that game was okay to lose. We didn't have Tillman. We played well. Went to overtime, fine. But he plays in the low 20s, and I just feel like I'd rather ride with Pinson than I would with any of the other guys, even if he's not playing his best. Keep him in the game, like maybe let him get some confidence because we can see what he's done when he gets rolling. I mean, he dropped 36 against TCU.
I think, I mean, at halftime, I was saying I'm worried Konzo might like murder X at halftime. And obviously, I need to say I wasn't really worried about that. But, I mean, you just, like, he has the physical ability to take over games. And clearly, what he is good at is using his speed and driving. Like, he's not a three-point shooter. And the entire offense comes off of him driving. Right now, when Tillman's there, it's the pick and roll. They don't really have the guy to do that with when he's not there, because that's not – I mean, you can use Mitchell Smith in that role, not as often. But, I mean, Pinson getting in the lane opens up the kick to Mark for three, or the kick to Drew cutting, or, you know, Kobe Brown or whatever. And he just, I mean, he wasn't doing that. He wasn't even initiating the drive. And that's what I think frustrates Konzo is, look, we can put in the game plan. We can say this is what you need to do, but we can't go out there and physically do it. And if you're not doing it, I'm going to put you on the bench. Which I understand, because I thought, and again, it was just before the phone started ringing, so I'm not sure if you would have heard this, but I mean, in 23 minutes tonight, X was minus 19. They got outscored by almost a point for every minute he was on the floor. I thought they were much better when Drew Buggs was on the floor tonight, despite the fact that Drew Buggs is zero threat to score. I just thought the offense worked better because he facilitated it. X kind of was getting his own a little bit, but he just wasn't doing much for the rest of the offense.
Yeah, you mentioned the pick and roll, and I mean, at least tonight I thought I noticed that guys were getting up top, like Mitchell Smith, Kobe Brown, Parker Brown. They weren't setting great picks up top. They weren't. Okay. I felt like they weren't getting free at all. So I mean, and I think Pinson does get frustrated because you can tell he gets passive and you know, doesn't drive hard of the lane like he does when Tillman's in the game, or he gets a good pick. But I mean, he wasn't great tonight by any means.
And I do understand your point of, hey, you'd rather lose with your best guy on the court than lose with your best guy on the bench. I do get that. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, the ultimate answer to me is, I don't care who was on the floor. You can't go lose this game. And that's why I won't listen to we didn't have Tillman tonight. I don't care. If your roster is such that losing one guy means you can't compete with Georgia, then your roster's wrong. You know, and that's a discussion I am willing to have. But Yeah, I mean, I think just we got out coached, and I know that's not what you're saying, but people will say that after a loss. And give me an example. What do you mean? I don't know that it was coaching tonight, but it was just like all of a sudden everything Missouri did to get there, they just quit doing. And maybe that's coaching, maybe that's execution. I think you do something like tonight, there's plenty of blame to share with everybody.
Right.
So.
I agree. Thanks for taking my call, Gabe.
Rough one. Thanks for calling. Thanks for being a part of the show. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys who are calling in, and in the chat in the comments too. And we will certainly get to those. But when we do have people call in, that's where we want to start. And numbers up on the screen there: 573-234-4935. Also on the screen, that Burger Smokehouse logo, which they make this possible. They host or they sponsor this for us. I host it, but they sponsor it. So check out their stuff at smokehouse.com. Go to the grocery store, pick it up. Like if you're in a grocery store in Missouri, they have big enough displays. You should be able to find them. If you can't find them, it's back near the refrigerated stuff usually, because that's where they keep meat. Because meat on the shelves, you don't generally want to eat. So go back to where they keep stuff cold, and you'll find it there. So we talked about Pinson's plus minus. Amazingly, it wasn't the worst one on the team. Javon Pickett tonight was minus 20 in 21 minutes. Also difficult to do. We had talked about his health coming in. Obviously, he's okay. He played 20 minutes tonight, or 21 minutes tonight. He's healthy. We talked a lot on the pregame show about is Torrance Watson going to play more. The answer to that was no. And Mark Smith tonight was decent. Scored 11 points on 4 of 8 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, had 7 rebounds, 3 steals. He was better than decent. He was actually pretty good. Limited to 26 minutes because of foul trouble, but I think you can make a pretty good argument Mark Smith was the second best player on the team tonight. 11 points, 7 boards, 3 steals, 2 turnovers in 26 minutes. Made half his shots. So you don't take minutes away from him tonight and give them to Watson, maybe. Javon Pickett, 21 minutes. He was 2 for 5 from the floor, 0 for 1 for 3, 4 rebounds, 3 fouls, 1 turnover, no steals, no assists. So you could take minutes there. But I think we got the answer to the Torrance Watson question. No, he's not going to get more minutes. The same thing may very well happen to Parker Brown as soon as Tillman comes back. Like he played 25 minutes on Saturday, 21 minutes tonight. Those minutes are going to Tillman. And I don't see him taking too many minutes away from Mitchell Smith. So I think the rotation's going to go back to what it was pretty much when Jeremiah Tillman's back. And now maybe that's a good thing because they're 0-3 with the new rotation, you know. I don't have many good things to say tonight, guys. This to me was a show up and like this game's important. You need to win this game. And we talked about all the downside in the pregame show. And this one hurts. I mean, not just from like a net standpoint, a ranking standpoint. They're going to be out of the top 25 next week, and they should be. Even if they beat South Carolina, they're out of the top 25 with this loss. 13-6, 3 in a row. But it's the momentum. Everybody is now questioning this team, right? And even let's go back to the last win. Last win was 68-65 over Alabama. Remember, they led that game by 22 points with 13 minutes left. 20 with 6.5 minutes left. And then Bama came storming back. And I said, here's the problem. It's always going to be in my head now, even though they won this game, that can happen. And it happened again tonight. And it's happened before. And it really shouldn't happen with a team with this much experience. And I know Konzo said they've never been here before, but they've been in games. They've played with 13-point leads. And somehow you've got to get the message through to them that being up 10 points does not mean the other team quits trying, you know, and you've got to start it again before you're behind. And Missouri's had difficulty doing that. So I'm going to run through some of the comments here while we got a minute. And then certainly, like I said, if you call, we will jump to the phone line. So if you're out there and you want to talk about it, please feel free to call in. But Gonna run through a few of these comments now. Jacob is asking if it's fair to say it's been poor coaching. We talked about that some. I mean, it is fair to criticize Konzo, I think. Because look, when you blow a 13-point lead and you lose by 10 and you're down by 14, yeah, it's fair. I mean, Georgia should not outscore anybody 45-22 in 14 minutes. That shouldn't happen. So coaching is a part of it, but I mean, again, they don't get the 13-point lead and then he tells them, okay, like that's how we got here, but change all that. We want to see if we can win a different way. This to me is much more about roster construction and recruiting. And if you believe that this roster has enough talent to be a top 10 team and they're losing games anyway, then cool. Then you think the problem is coaching. I don't think this roster has the talent to be a top 10 team. I just don't. I think he's gotten a lot out of what this team has. I just don't think it has enough. So I lean more toward the problem is recruiting. And I will lean more toward the problem is recruiting on 85% of teams that things aren't going well in college sports because I think talent usually wins. Now, does Missouri have more talent than Georgia? I think so. I mean, you could maybe make the argument they don't. I think, like I said, I don't think Missouri has anybody quite like Kamara on its team. But, like, top to bottom, I think Missouri has more talent. But it's not so much more that you're just going to roll the ball out and win, right? I mean, if Missouri plays Georgia 10 times, they're going to win more than their share. But my issue with the recruiting isn't you're not out-recruiting Georgia. It's I just don't see the talent on this roster that I think it needs to get to where it wants to go. That's the bottom line. Look, they could prove me wrong, 100%. Could prove me wrong this year. They could prove me wrong next year. But if we're having a discussion, does it fall more on the in-game stuff or on the coaching or on the recruiting stuff? I'm almost always going to side on the side of recruiting, and I definitely will with this team and this roster. Dr. Sanitary says people will blame the refs in Tillman, but Georgia sucks. Mizzou should have won, and this team officially has problems, and it starts at the top. I agree with all that. Look, I know people are going to say, well, they were in the bonus with 15 minutes left. All right, guys. So let's do this real quick, okay? Total personal fouls called. Georgia 17, Missouri 22. Some of those late. When Missouri was, I would say a fair amount late when Missouri was trying to make up or trying to get back in a game that was kind of over. Georgia, I don't know, went to the line once, twice, 3 times, 4 times in the last 2 minutes. So 4 fouls. There was a 5-foul difference, and 4 of those fouls came in the final 2 minutes when Georgia was up big. So, in essence, personal fouls were about even. Free throws, Georgia took 26, Missouri took 15. Again, they took 8 in the last 2 minutes. The refs didn't lose this game. And, yeah, they called – I understand it was like 5-1 early in the second half, and it was 7-2 or whatever. I get it. But that didn't lose this game. I mean, when Georgia got in the bonus, Missouri still had a 13-point lead. That's not what caused Georgia to win the game. It's not like Georgia free throws. I'm going to look at second half free throws and see what they were. So Georgia was 16-21 from the line. Again, 8 of those came in the final 2 minutes. So they shot 13 free throws. And let's assume they made 11 of them, right? Which is probably a little high. Missouri was still up 14 points. This wasn't an officiating thing. Yes, there were some bad calls. There are always bad calls. Maybe a few more of them went against Missouri than went against Georgia. But this was not – I'm not going to listen to the argument that the refs lost this game. And I know Dr. Sanitary was not saying that. Not at all. So – Logan, kind of agreeing with what Patrick was saying on the phone earlier. Mizzou was well suited for a COVID abbreviated offseason and started well. Other teams have had time to gel and caught up. Guys, it's a really good perspective that I hadn't thought of. I'm going to steal it. Now, I'll give you credit when I write about it, but it is. I think it's a good thing to look at. Travis says Pinson was bad tonight and Drew disappeared at times, and I tell you what, look, Drew's not going to be good all the time, right? But the play that I thought kind of ended it was Drew came up. I think they were down 6. I think it was 70-64. And Drew came down and did kind of a one-handed pass over on the wing, and Georgia stole it and got fouled. And, the next time I looked up, it was like a 14-point game. Drew he wasn't awful tonight, I guess. Let me look at his numbers here. He had 9 points, so it's his first game in the last 11 that he wasn't in double figures. He was 4-10 from the field, 4 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 2 steals, 2 assists. Yeah, he wasn't good. He definitely wasn't good. So basically what you got is Tillman wasn't there, Pinson didn't play well, and Drew Smith didn't play well. Well, Missouri not going to beat anybody that way. They're not going to beat literally anybody in this league. Aaron Johnson, will Tillman be emotionally available the rest of the year? Look, I don't know where the kid's at. Mentally. I know where he's at physically. But mentally, I don't know. I'll never judge a kid or shame a kid for choosing his family. I don't know what dynamics are at play. I don't know where he's going to be at. I don't know if you're going to get the same guy you had for the last month and a half, but I don't know. We'll see, right, when he comes back. David says the season is now try to make the NCAA tournament. You're right, David, it is. And I think they will. I think now they're not going to go in there hot, really, but I think they built up enough equity that they're going to make it simply by winning games they should win the rest of the way. So that means beat South Carolina, beat A&M, and if you beat Ole Miss at home, I'm pretty sure you're in. That puts you, even if you lose at Florida, that'd put you 9-7 in the league. Let's say you split LSU and Vandy 10-8. You're 17-8 overall. You're going to get in. So I think they'll get in. But do you feel a lot different about what they can do once they're there than you felt 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 1 week ago? Absolutely you do. Because now I'm looking at this team like 7 seed is maybe, I would say a 6 is the ceiling, and that includes like beating Florida and maybe LSU. 6 is the ceiling, and it could drop well below that. I'm going to go to the 314 area code. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Gabe, it's Marcus from the Lou.
What's up, Marcus? How you doing, man?
Good, brother. How are you?
I am hanging in. Still kind of trying to figure out what happened there.
Yeah, I get you. You were just talking about David Newman is the season now to try to make the NCAA tournament. I think you predicted early in the season that was kind of the benchmark.
Yep.
And I don't think we were ever as good as top 10 in the country. I also don't think we're as bad as top 40. And I think most of college basketball is in that 10 to 40 range.
Yeah.
So I just think that's what college basketball is. And Mizzou could come out and 3 guys play well and they win, or you get something like tonight. Like I think that's just the majority of college basketball.
I agree with you. You're never as bad as you think you are. You're never as good as you think you are after the highs. And so this team is, I said before the season, I thought the ceiling for this team was like a 7 seed, 6 or 7. And that's what I think now. So I guess what I thought 3 months ago was what I think now. It was that month and a half in between when we kind of got fooled into changing our expectations that makes this feel worse than it is. I still think the goal for this team is make the tournament and win a game. Like, that is progress for this team. It's been 11 years. yes, you need to get there, but you also actually need to win one, I think. But if you do that, overall, I think it's a successful season. But after you were 13-3 and had beaten a top 10 team and were in the top 10 yourself, that feels a little hollow, even if it shouldn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely agree. But I really do think that's what this team is. They're like a lot of college basketball teams. They're just right in the middle. And if they get hot, they could win a couple games. And
You're right.
If they're playing like now, they could be out week 1.
Yeah, they've proven, like they've beaten teams that are good enough that, like, if this team makes a Sweet 16, it's not the biggest shock in the world. I mean, if they make an Elite 8, it's not the biggest shock in the world. You know, I wouldn't predict it today, but it is possible. They've beaten 3 good teams in a row. But like you said, yeah, if they lose first round, that's very possible too. And the one thing I won't listen to is the people that say, well, it doesn't matter where they're seated because they can do anything on any given day. But the point is, as a 3 seed, your path is theoretically quite a bit easier than if you're an 11 seed, right? So it does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, that 10 to 40 range or 10 to 30 range or whatever, they're all pretty similar day in, day out. It just depends on who shows up.
I agree. Missouri might be the only team to be ranked 10th and 40th in the same season, honestly, the way they're going. So.
Also true. Appreciate you, Gabe.
All right, Marcus. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call. And look, Marcus is right. Again, excellent point, excellent perspective there in that it's not all terrible. You shouldn't feel off. This feels bad right now tonight. And I think I've had kind of a what the hell happened tone going on because they shouldn't have lost this game, I think. And the overall trend doesn't feel very good. But, I mean, again, they should still be in. They very well may be seeded to win a game. If they make the Sweet 16, it won't be a shock. And the beauty, it's the blessing and the curse of college basketball, is that people only really know what happens for 3 weeks. And so if you go in as a 10 seed, but you win 2 games at the right time, nobody remembers that you were a 10 seed. Or nobody remembers that you fell apart down the stretch of the season. All they remember is, hey, that was a Sweet 16 team. Good year. And the curse of it is you can win 30 games and you can be a 2 seed. And if you have a bad day on the wrong day, you go home and nobody cares what you did for the first 35 games of the season. So, still obviously so much to be determined, not only in the regular season, but in the part of the season where most people actually pay attention. That I don't want to bury this team. We shouldn't bury this team. I think they're still an NCAA tournament team. That said, it's been a bad 7-8 days for this team, no question. Bokomo says this is not a good Missouri team. I thought we needed to see something in year 4. I haven't seen anything. Well, then you're just choosing not to look. I mean, they're 20th in the country. They're not going to be ranked next week, but they're a top 30 team. They're much better than they were under 500 last year. If you haven't seen anything this year, it's because you don't want to see anything. I mean, and that's fine. That's your prerogative, but appreciate Patrick supporting the sponsors, emotionally eating with Burger Smokehouse tonight. I like that. Georgia Rebel wants to know where the name Dance Class came from. I came up with that name, and the reason is because I kind of wanted this show after every game, the idea to be what's this mean for the NCAA tournament hopes, for the big dance, all that. So I came up with that. Whether it's any good or not, I don't really know, but I'll take either the blame or the credit on that one. Let's see. Breakfast King wants to see Konzo doing the presser while riding the stationary bike. I actually wanted him to get on the elliptical, to be quite honest with you. Let's see. All right, still rolling through. Again, real quick while I'm trying to go through these comments and just see what we got. 234-4935, area code's 573. If you want to give me a call, you can do that. We'll hang out here for a few more minutes. Yeah, David says, remember back when Few scored 80 on Conzo Martin teams, Mizzou's defense has fallen apart. It's 5 out of 6 games they've given up 80 now, and one of those was overtime. Didn't give up 80 in regulation, but 4 out of 6 in regulation, which is obviously not ideal. Going to the 908 area code now. Is this my guy Schiff?
Yeah, I didn't want you to think I was gonna let you down, Gabe. I
appreciate it,
call
man.
in tonight.
Yeah, what's going on?
I got a game to cover in 10 minutes. Doesn't that stink?
It's criminal. No game should start at 9:30, 10:30 your time. That's ridiculous. Are they out west or something?
Yeah, they're in Phoenix. It's
Oh.
Steve Nash's homecoming.
Okay.
I come to you with 2 things before I have a comment about the game. I was asked this question earlier this week, and I admit I had to look up the answer. Can you name the other 3 members of Mitchell Smith's recruiting class?
The other 3 members. They would have graduated last year.
Correct.
Probably. Was Colin Van Leer in that class?
No.
No, damn it. I know Jordan Geist wasn't because he was a JUCO guy.
Correct.
J3? No, he was before that, wasn't he?
No, that's Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Reed Nico,
Okay.
Willie Jackson, and Frankie Hughes.
Oh, Willie Jackson and Frankie Hughes, the Cleveland connection. How could I forget that?
Yeah, what was that guy's name? The high school coach.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
yeah,
they both
yeah.
transferred. Frankie or Willie Jackson's at like Ohio now, or maybe Toledo, one of those.
I think Toledo, and then I think Frankie Hughes was at Duquesne. I thought that was a great trivia question, though. I guessed Colin Van Leer like you did.
It's an illustrious class, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for the books. Also, I told Mitch that I've been costing you guys serious money. So, quick story for you. The first time we ever went to Missouri to look at the school, we have been using Burger's Smokehouse for years, and my mother insisted we drive to California, Missouri to see the place in person.
Excellent.
So Burger's Smokehouse is shipper approved, yeah.
What is it like in person? It's a smokehouse.
It's a tough question to answer because all I had to compare it to was the catalog we got in the mail every year. So I don't know how to answer that. But I guess it was worth the drive.
Okay.
We've never been there before,
I've been to California. I've not been to Burger Smokehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
How have the callers been tonight? I take it people are very angry.
Not super angry. Just I think they're kind of like me. They're kind of baffled. Like, what the hell happened there? Because we talked pregame about how maybe they could lose, but I don't think anybody really believed it. I know I didn't believe it. So that was bad. Man.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I've now come to agree with you that the goal for the season is to win a game in the NCAA tournament, and then everything else after that is gravy. I just don't know how practical that looks after tonight, but I agree with you. I remember I argued a couple weeks ago, maybe it should be a little higher. Now I'm completely in parallel with you on your views there.
And like,
if they can even, but
you watch that tournament, man. Bad teams win in round 1 all the time. And I'm not saying they're a bad team, but like worse teams than this win a game or 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So
it's just
that's all I got.
I hope they get there. It's fun to care about the tournament.
Yeah. I always think back to that first Conzo team. They were obviously on the 8-9 line, but they must have lost. How many games? There was the Chris Chioza game. There was the LSU game. You think if half of those games that came down to the final minute were flipped, they probably get off the 8-9 line, and then maybe they're in a bit better position to win that first game or make it more competitive. Granted, there was the Jordan Barnett thing, but
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like the goal right now should be to have a decent matchup in round 1 and not and not have something, like a Loyola Chicago or some team.
Or not run into a Florida State team that you watch and go, oh my God, how was that an 8 seed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yep. Well, Schiff, appreciate the call, man. Enjoy watching Devin Booker.
That's a good Mizzou kid. The last time the Nets played out there, Melvin Booker was there. I ran into him. He now lives out in Phoenix full time.
I like it.
Because he couldn't stand watching at home. Yeah, so I'm ending the call on a Mizzou-related note. That's a great way to go out.
All right, good deal, buddy. We'll talk to you.
See ya.
Thanks, man. All right, now we got the 314 area code on the line. Who am I talking to here?
Hi, Gabe. This is Pat M. from St. Louis. I have 2 questions for you. I apologize if you've already answered for them. I am here late. Is there a chance that if we finish 6th or 7th in the SEC that we could still miss the tournament? Typically, we don't run 6 teams deep in the tournament, right?
Yeah, well, the other thing, though, that you have to realize is Missouri had legitimately the best non-conference in the SEC. So, I mean, they were better than Bama. They were better than Arkansas, better than Florida. Anybody, even better than Tennessee. Anybody that finishes ahead of them, none of them did what Missouri did in the non-conference. So the SEC or the NCAA tournament committee is going to look at the whole body of work, and beating Illinois, beating Oregon on a neutral court, winning at Wichita State. Like these are things that are going to weigh huge in Missouri's favor.
Okay, that's good news. The other side is, how much are they going? I mean, I know that this is a mess and there's so much stats and bracketology and things like that. Are they going to take into account at all that Jeremiah Tillman was not present for these past 2 games? On one hand, it benefit us because we obviously shit the bed the past 2 games, or 3 games rather. The other side of the coin is Oregon was missing a player when we faced them. That is apparently really key. We probably wouldn't have beat them. Or how much are they going to take into account that we didn't have Jeremiah?
Yeah, I think it probably matters less than, I mean, if he misses the last 8 games or something, I think they look at it. But if they just go, or if he comes back and Missouri wins every game, they might bump up a seed line by saying, hey, yeah, they lost 3 in a row, but they didn't have their best player in all 3 of those. So it could make a minor difference. I don't think it's going to make a major difference, especially in a year where, people are missing dudes every game. I mean, you can't go through everybody's schedule and be like, well, this guy had COVID that game, and this guy had COVID the other game, and then this guy had an aunt die, and so at the most, it'll make a very minor difference, I think.
All right, sounds good, Gabe.
All right, Pat.
Beat writer from Mizzou. Love you. You're the best.
Appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. And anytime you want to call to compliment me, I will always put you on the show. So thanks for that. Thanks Thanks to everybody who has called in and been a part of the show tonight. That's Pat and Schiffer and everybody else. Certainly always appreciate the calls. Always like to have some things to talk about. And guess what, man? Sometimes I even learn some things from you guys. So I'm going to roll through some of these comments. And Tyler has a pretty common question. Would like to see Konzo call a few more timeouts when we get these ruts and try to get things fixed quicker? I get it. I do understand it. But, I mean, you have a timeout every 4 minutes in college basketball. And a lot of times what you'll see, like if another team starts to go on a run with 10:25 left, you might see a coach go, all right, let's give this a couple possessions, see how it goes. And then if the run is still going on, well, if you're at 8:50, maybe you call a timeout, but maybe you just wait those 50 seconds for a dead ball till you get the TV timeout. That goes into coaches' thinking a lot. Also, Konzo has said a lot, and he said it tonight. He said it can't always come from the sideline. Like, at some point, you got to have a guy out there kind of take over. They know what to do, and I do understand momentum and why you want timeouts. So I see that side of it. And sometimes, yes, I think you need to call a timeout. I thought he could have called one a possession or 2 sooner than he did when Georgia was making that big run. But, and then again, okay, let's say you call one and then out of the timeout, Georgia goes on another 8-2 run. Do you call another one? I mean, when's it stop? So I get the question, and I thought he could have called one a little bit sooner in the second half tonight, but I generally don't have quite as big an issue with it as I think a lot of people do. Sam says Mizzou staring a 6 seed in Nashville and a date with Tennessee or Arkansas on Friday, and a 7 to 10 seed in the Big Dance. Pray for a round of 32 game. Yeah, I mean I think that's fairly accurate right now where you stand. I'm about one loss away from seriously wanting Konzo fired midseason. I apologize that is not going to happen. You are going to be disappointed in that. Davin says any game they win against a Power 5 team with Konzo as coach is a bonus. Davin, you should be happy. You have gotten many bonuses this year. You've gotten 6 of them in the SEC. You've gotten Oregon. You've got Illinois. That's 8 bonuses this year. That's pretty good. Inexplicable that this team has lost to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State when they were dominating or playing even. I agree with that part. It's hard to figure out, no question. Here's the flip side. I never know why people bash on Konzo. He's brought a team that barely managed to win 10 games a year with Kim. They didn't manage to win 10 games a year with Kim, by the way. It was 9 a year. And now we are an NCAA tournament team. I mean, that's the flip side, right? People want more, but you also have to realize where you came from. So I get both of those. Georgia Rebel says Mizzou doesn't seem to have that go-to guy when things start to unravel, and Konzo kind of said that, and we've talked about that. Like, you don't have that guy. Who do you turn to when you know you need a basket? Pinson, usually, but not tonight. Drew Smith, it's just not his personality. Tillman, but Tillman obviously, like, he's not going to go create his own shot. He needs help. But Konzo brought that up. He said, it doesn't have to be the same guy, but we need that guy that kind of goes and grabs the bull by the horns and says, let's go get this thing done. So I agree. Good point there, Georgia Rebel. Don't buy the experience excuse. They beat Alabama 11 days ago. They fold on both ends of the court when other teams play desperate. It's fair. I mean, maybe a little harsh. I might not say it quite that way, but you're right. Let's see. Konzo era starting to feel similar to Barry Odom. Took over a bad situation and stabilized the program, but now we need to go find the coach drink of basketball. I mean, it's going to be at least till the end of next year. Minimum, guys. I'm just telling you. Like, you can devote energy to it if you want to, but there's no point really in even talking about it. Georgia has won 6 league games, half of them against Mizzou and Ole Miss. That's interesting. The problem is that X is terrible when he's not great. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be an in-between. You're right about that. I mean, it's really hot or really cold. Didn't realize Mark Smith did so well. Wasn't 100 paying attention to the first half. He didn't seem as good in the second half. I can actually tell you because I've got the first half box score and the second half box score. In the first half, Mark Smith had 3 points on 1 of 3 shooting. He had 5 rebounds and 2 steals. In the second half, he had 8 points on 3 of 5 shooting, including 2 of 3 from 3, 2 rebounds, and 1 steal. Did have both his turnovers in the second half. So probably a little – he scored more in the second half, probably played a little bit better in the first half. This basketball season reminds me of the 2019 football season. We're not there yet, Case. If they lose to South Carolina on Saturday, we might be there. If they lose to South Carolina on Saturday and then follow that up with a loss at home to Ole Miss, we're pretty much fully there. It's not a terrible analogy. Not there yet, but yeah, we're getting there. Breakfast King wants to discuss something other than Mizzou basketball. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to spend so much time on Mizzou basketball on the Mizzou basketball show. I do appreciate that. I mean, we talked about Burger Smokehouse for a little while. I don't know what else we could talk about. There's not a whole lot else going on. Yeah, sorry, man. I'll come with topics next time. How's that? We do have the 573 report tomorrow night with Mitch and I, so we'll try to talk less Mizzou basketball on that. But on that note, seems like a good place to end it, guys. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us, truly. Appreciate all the callers, Burger Smokehouse for sponsoring. And hey, we'll do this again on Saturday. I don't know what time the game is, but whenever it is, an hour before they start, we'll pregame, and then afterwards we'll postgame, and I don't know. Maybe it'll be a better one than tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.